Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.
Welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry, and today we are talking about CNMI Historic Preservation with the CNMI Historic Preservation Office, and none other than the HPO Permitting Coordinator, also filling in as the PIO today, John Palacios. JP, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Kat. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
You too.
Maybe you could start us off with giving us an overview about what are the responsibilities of HPO.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kat. Okay, I would like to first share in regards to the creation of the Historic Preservation Program. And so the CNMI Historic Preservation Office is mandated under Public Law 3-39, cited as the Commonwealth Historic Preservation Act of 1982. The office is tasked with three main goals, and number one is to document historic and archaeological sites in the CNMI, regulating development to protect sites that may be damaged or adversely impacted through construction and other ground disturbance activities, and also to educate the public and students concerning matters relating to our history, archaeology, culture, architecture, and historic preservation in the CNMI.
How long have you been working at HPO?
Not so long, Kat. It's only about 32 years.
You must really love the work. Why have you decided to work there for 32 years?
Well, I feel, and I consider this as a very, very important program for me because I am from this island. And I am, I care for our islands, and I really like to, to assist also our community, general public in sharing out information in regards to our history, preserving and protecting and identifying, locating our historic, cultural, archaeological resources, sites, and properties. So I feel that, this is very important for me as an indigenous, of our islands.
Well, that explains why you've been there for 3 decades. So I think you wanted to share a little bit more about what are some of your program responsibilities as an office.
Okay. So the duties and responsibilities of the program is, to implement the intent of this Commonwealth Historic Preservation Act of 1982, and to carry out the responsibilities and adhere to the standards set forth for state historic preservation officers by the United States National Park Service and Historic Preservation Act of 1966, and also to carry out federal laws and regulations applicable to the Commonwealth pertaining to historic and cultural preservation, and also to conduct a comprehensive survey to identify, as I mentioned earlier, to identify all sites, structures, buildings, objects, areas of value in archaeology, history, or cultures of the Northern Mariana Islands. And also, one of the foremost is to develop an educational program and service for the purpose of making available to the public information, some facts pertaining to historic and archaeological sites, building structures, and other properties significant to the Commonwealth. And of course, to protect and preserve and regulate access to places, artifacts, and things of historical significance. And also the HPO program is also part of the permitting agency under the One Start Permitting Agency. So we do also issue or deny permits for use, access, and development of land containing cultural and historic properties, and for the taking of any artifact of historic and cultural significance from the Commonwealth for, say, cultural exchange, scientific identification, or donation to a nonprofit organization recognized on the basis of its cultural significance to the Commonwealth. So those are some of the the duties and responsibilities that we are mandated to perform and to ensure that we follow.
And I know that permitting is really your area, so we're going to spend some time talking about permitting and helping people understand how that works, why it's necessary, what are some of the things you guys actually do during the permitting process in the second half of the show. But you also mentioned education, and this month, of course, is Historic Preservation Month, and you guys have a bunch of things going on. What have you lined up for this month, and how can the public participate in the preservation of our history here in the CNMI with your activities in May?
Okay, so our Historic Preservation Month normally is held in the month of May. For this year, the HPO activities for this Preservation Month aside from the normal request for historic and cultural education outreach,
which you do to the schools, I think, right?
Yes, as well as to site visits to our historic and cultural sites.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and this is for encompasses the three main islands of Saipan, Tinan, and Rota. And for the Preservation Month, I would also like to share that. This is like for the Guam preservation, they also have the same theme as the people saving places, as well as for the other Micronesian HPO programs in American Samoa. This theme is very appropriate and timely. It coincided with a project that the HPO is currently undertaking with regards to restoration of significant historic buildings. So we are saving places. We have several significant pre-war era buildings that soon will be undergoing rehabilitation.
Really?
Yeah.
Which ones?
And to name a few of these buildings, one being the old Japanese police station, which is located up at the airport road just north of the American Red Cross building facility. And the general plan for this proposed building is for to restore it and to subsequently use it and to serve as a sort of a visitor center, to serve our community, our visitors and tourists alike regarding the historic heritage throughout at the Isley Field National Historic Landmark. So this will be a very, very helpful project and very important for our visitors, to have easy access to a location where whatever information that they may need in regards to the National Historic Landmark at Isley Field, the visitor center is there to serve them.
And I have to say, if you have not been to Isley Field, you should definitely check it out. Just take the road on the airport that goes towards the tower, and you'll see it. Yeah, it's a great place for a few hours.
Yes, and I know that a lot of our community, our folks, they don't know what that building was. The building that we're in the process of restoring it back to its original condition and integrity.
Okay. And do you have any other places you can share with us?
Yes, we also have two of the historic complex up at Capitol Hill complex, and one being the junior officers' quarters, and the other one is the senior officers' quarters. And so our plan is to restore that back, for use to the other government agencies.
Oh, okay. So you can restore it, but then it can also function as an office at the same time.
Yes, and we call
Interesting.
We call that CAT, adaptive reuse preservation. We rehabilitate a building, but of course, ensuring that its original character and design will be maintained. And so we discourage alteration in historic buildings.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, it's very similar to what you were saying about the Japanese police station. You're going to restore it to what it was, but you're going to use it as a visitor center. And it's something that I think is going to add very much to the flavor of our islands as a destination where people can go to an office and actually see a part of our history. That's pretty cool.
Yes, it's very true. And at the same time, it's the adaptive reuse preservation is really important in that instead of leaving the historic building as is empty and
or dilapidated,
that's dilapidated from the elements, so it's best to have it restored and at the same time maintaining the building at the same time.
Anything else you want to share about people saving places?
Yes, this month we also have this 3 off-island university groups that were here this month, and the HPO program works in collaboration with them, and one of the universities from the Eastern Carolina University, and the other one is from Flinders University in Australia, and the other is from Kyushu University in Japan. And their goals and objective of this their visit here is to undertake a project of a maritime underwater, to conduct underwater inventory surveys of our, the World War II relics and World War II, those properties from World War II.
We had Dr. Jennifer McKinnon on earlier this year from East Carolina University. She kind of explained what they were doing with that particular maritime archaeology project. So how does HPO partner with her and these other schools? What is your role?
Yes, okay, so Dr. Jennifer McKinnon's been coming to our island since 2007. And so she's been here many times, and we are so grateful to Dr. McKinnon in that, she brings a group of her students over to our islands to undertake this very important project, the underwater maritime surveys. And so one of the main features of their trip at this time, in which this is the first time that they work in collaboration with these 3 universities, one of the main features is that there were 2 a group from 2 popular TV stations in Japan. They were here and they filmed the entire projects, and so this filming will be aired in Japan to promote our islands. And to me, this is very, very a big thing, and it's important and helpful for our island, so that the viewing audience in Japan can view and they may have the desire to visit our islands because of these resources that we have out there.
Definitely. Very, very interesting. We're chatting today with John Palacios, the Historic Preservation Office Permit Coordinator. We'll be back with more after this break.
I Northern Marianas Humanities Council bulaguinahanya puri historian Marianas dan kultura. Sinyon soda esisihan and formasyon gi zon mami website nmhcouncil.org. Pat bisita gi YouTube, pat Facebook. Guajalokwe diferentes clases lebluna sinya un fan. I Northern Marianas Humanities Council has uzura todo I experiencia tautau.
Welcome back to Your Humanities Half Hour. We're talking about CNMI preservation with John Palacios, better known as JP, the permitting coordinator for HPO. JP, as part of your outreach this month, I understand you're also doing some social media outreach. Tell us about that in case people want to hop on Facebook and get involved or learn something.
Okay, thank you, Kat. Yes, the HPO will also be featuring through DCCA social media, Facebook, a sort of a promotional awareness of the CNMI's historic and cultural sites through a "Did you know?" questions and photos regarding our cultural, historic, World War II, and archaeological sites. So I believe with this idea, Kat, I'm certain that our community will have the opportunity to gain more knowledge and awareness in regards to some of our significant historic and cultural sites that they've never known and never seen before in our islands. But the CNMI has a wealth of unique and interesting cultural sites that are situated in areas inaccessible to vehicles.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. If people are interested, as I am, they can go to the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs Facebook page.
Yes, and this will happen every once a week.
Okay. Oh, once a week?
Yes.
I thought you were going to say once a day. Oh, that's not enough. Okay.
Preliminary.
All right. I want to make sure we give you time for permitting, but I know the last on your list there, not the only thing you're doing, but you guys are developing or working on developing a new site in Tinian, and I understand it's a shrine located someplace near the Seabees Monument. Can you share a little bit about this place? Because I think it's a new site that maybe a lot of people are not familiar with.
Yeah, this is a pre-war Japanese shrine, and what we are going to be doing on that shrine is to restore back the torii. Is the gate, the entrance gate of the shrine, because it was destroyed during the Typhoon Yutu. So that's part of the project that we will be also undertaking, the same as the other historic buildings that we're going to be rehabilitating and restoring.
And maybe clearing the area, is that right? And making sure that it's accessible? So
the torii is located at the entrance of the shrine. And so perhaps not so clearing the area with heavy equipments, but clearing it with just a small machines.
Oh yeah, because you want to preserve it.
Yes, so in that way we will we won't be adversely impacting the site, with heavy equipments, doing ground disturbance over there.
Yeah. HPO, your responsibilities really aren't like clearing sites and stuff like that, right? It mostly falls on other government agencies to do that part.
That is correct, Kat. The HPO's role actually is just to ensure that the historic and cultural sites are protected and preserved. But at times we, with the lacking the staffing capacity, at times we also go out and do clearing, just to assist also in the clearing of our cultural sites.
Understood. Okay, let's get to the topic that I know is the real reason why you agreed to be my guest today. You want to talk about permitting because this is your baby. And I think I would like to give people the opportunity to understand from your perspective, when it comes to projects, what is really the role of HPO? And why is the work you do important, and how does it work? Oh boy, I just threw everything at you. Go ahead, take it away.
Okay, all right. That is, I know that a lot of people in our community would want to know and to be aware of the permitting process. And so the HPO reviews land use projects in conjunction with two principal permitting agencies, namely the Division of Environmental Quality and Division of Coastal Resources Management. And so for the large-scale projects or those that will be undertaken within sensitive environmental areas are reviewed under the Coastal Resources Management Program, CRM, which is also called Major Siting Permitting Review. So in most cases, these projects areas are subjected to professional level surveys, and potential adverse effects to important historic resources are identified and mitigated through specific requirements incorporated into the CRM permit. And so for the DCRM, that is for the major siting permits, the large-scale projects, earth-moving projects. Now for the smaller scale projects, and every project in the CNMI that involves earth-moving is examined by the HPO under a one-start review process.
For example, building a house.
Yes, that's an example. Land clearing for agriculture.
Agriculture, because you're digging up the ground.
Yes.
Okay.
Installation of water lines and the sort,
Okay.
Now for the major siting, it more so deals with the commercial buildings, large scale buildings that will be constructed within the coastal zone areas. But the other one also is under the federal undertakings, we also review under the Section 106 review process. So this process requires federal agencies to consider potential effects their undertakings may have on properties listed in the U.S. National Register, or those properties that
U.S. Register of Historic Places.
Yes, the National Register of Historic Places.
And we have maybe 20 sites, Ipentini Rhoda, that fall under this registry?
No, Kat, we have a total of 37
my bad.
National Register of Historic Places sites and 2 National Historic Landmarks. And so basically the Section 106 review process is essentially, to give the consideration to the project sponsor on their proposed project, the effects of their proposed projects on, like I mentioned earlier, sites that are listed in the U.S. National Register, or sites that has the potential to be nominated in the U.S. National Register.
So can I ask, if somebody wants to do something and they have a project, let's just say it's a smaller project, and they come in and they apply, what do you guys do? What is your hands-on work as far as, or maybe it doesn't start with hands-on, maybe you guys go back to your records and say, okay, what do we know exists in this site? How does that work?
Okay, so first of all, Kat, the Historic Preservation Program is not a permitting agency. It is part of the regulatory agency that issues out clearances.
Okay.
And so the Division of Environmental Quality is the permitting agency that administers this. And so if one is to apply or to do an earth-moving activities projects, one must go to the Division of Environmental Quality,
right,
to complete the what is called the form, the one-start permitting application.
And then what is HPO's part?
Okay, so once DEQ completes the application and completes their review, then they transmit that application to the other regulatory agencies, namely Division of Fish and Wildlife, HPO, and DCRM, for their respective agencies' review. Okay, so once we receive that of the application, then we do an archival research first in our HPO library to see if there's previous projects that was undertaken within that proposed project, especially within the coastal areas, within the known archaeologically sensitive areas. And so after that, then we just go out and do the actual physical site inspection.
What's entailed in a site inspection? Okay,
so our technicians and specialists, they go out and do what is called a reconnaissance survey, to inspect the site, whether there's presence or absence of any historic properties, as well as surface gather of archaeological properties. And so if a site or a project, if a completed project that we did not identify any historic or archaeological sites, then we issue out what we call the standard condition clearance on our part. And then once the State Historic Preservation Officer signs off, approves the clearance and sign it off, then we transmit this clearance to DEQ for our clearance to be incorporated in their permit to be issued to the permittee.
I know sometimes people may wonder, why does the issuing of a permit take so long? But as you've explained, there is a process. Can you share with us some examples of things you have found of value that would not have been discovered and that would have been destroyed if this due diligence hadn't been done?
That is a very important question, Kat, in that so when we go out on the field, and for example, there's a previous archaeological data recovery that was undertaken on a site that is a proposed site that will be a project that will be built on that area, and we know that there's previous findings, archaeological finds next to that project. So and
when we say findings, we might mean like there was burials found or things like that.
Yes, and what our recommendation on that is that whenever we see, for example, surface scatter, a product, pottery.
Yeah.
So what we, depending on the magnitude of the project, if it's a small scale project, then we recommend for the project to undergo what we call a subsurface testing. So at times we do shovel testing, or if it's for a proposed commercial building, then we require the permittee to obtain, or the applicant to obtain, the services of a backhoe and an operator for the HPO to conduct what is called a backhoe testing, to inspect the subsurface of that site, whether there's more of these archaeological properties, and more so whether there's burials underneath the natural grade. So this is one way that we determine a site. But another phase is that in the event that we encounter, example, heavy density of cultural materials or mass grave of human remains burials, then we require the applicant to obtain the services of a certified archaeologist meeting the Secretary of the Interior Standards 36 of Part 61 to undertake this, the archaeological testing.
To make sure. What's the most amazing thing that you can think of in your 30 years that you've been a part of discovering as part of this permitting process?
Okay, for me, what I'm really looking for is the burials, and we are so fortunate to. I would like to also share this information that, for example, Typhoon Yutu. Okay, so for that project, FEMA comes in, and so obviously FEMA is a federal agency, and so they must go through the process of the Section 1/6 review. So anyway, I would just share this, that we are so fortunate that FEMA has their own archaeological team to do the monitoring of the archaeological sites. And there's one site construction, a new home construction that is located in San Antonio. So we are working, the HPO is working in collaboration closely with the FEMA, in collaboration with FEMA. So there's a new home construction located in San Antonio. They've encountered approximately 80 burials. And so that is really, really a big thing. And also part of our program is, to reinter these remains at their own, original location. So those are very important to consider.
JP, I really want to thank you for taking the time to share just a little bit, really, about what HPO does. Any final thoughts? Well, first of all, I just want to say I would love to have you guys come back and share more. You guys can pick the topic. So this is a standing invitation for you. But any final thoughts before we end this conversation today?
Yes, thank you, Kat, again. I'd just like to share that, to kindly and respectfully ask the general public, our community, to be, sensitive in our cultural resources. And that I would recommend that, if you go out on the jungle, for example, and you find archaeological properties and sites, I recommend that you do not, touch that properties and remove them, because once you remove them, you are, disturbing the site and destroying the integrity of the site. But I also want to kindly ask that, for the community to bear with the HPO. We're trying our very best to ensure that, we cover everything in the protection and preservation of our historic, cultural, and archaeological properties and resources. And so thank you, Kat, for having me here.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for the good work that you guys are doing there at HPO.
Thank you.
Our guest today has been John Palacios. He's the Historic Preservation Office Permit Coordinator at CNMI HPO. This is CNMI Historic Preservation Month, and we hope that you've learned something educational in our chat today and helpful to you. This has been your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
This program was supported by a We the People grant awarded to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities or the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.